Everyone, welcome back to the Rodeo Talk episode 5. Today, we're going to be talking about something really, really, really important. Actually, we're going to be talking about how you can unlock the absolute maximum potential for yourself in being able to work with the good times and the bad times. Because as we know, a rodeo is not just upsides, it's as much downsides, and there's no light without dark. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about how you can keep getting back on that rodeo, keep getting back on the horse when you're falling off it. And joining me today, I have none other than my amazing co-host, Mikkel Winslow. How are you, my brother? And what are you looking forward today to us talking about, man?
Oh, thank you so much, brother. What a beautiful intro. Yeah, it's a huge episode. I'm doing amazing. Life is beautiful. It is up, but it is certainly also down. It's no secret that life is a bit challenging right now, personally. But we all have these ups and downs in life. So I think today is very natural for us to go into what to do when life gives you an uppercut that is 10 times more powerful than Mike Tyson's hand. Um, so I think today, what I'm most excited about is to basically give my personal and my best advice for young people what they can do when they feel down, lost, and they actually get an unexpected uppercut in life.
Yeah.
Not physically from somebody, but we all have some traumatic things going on in our life now and then. So being able to, pull the right tools together so you can actually move and grow from it and become stronger, because what doesn't kill you truly makes you stronger. And today, this is exactly what we're going to touch on. But brother Max Rooney, what do you feel about? Yeah, how do you feel about this topic, and why do you think this is so important to you?
Great question. Yeah, I love what you said there. It's truly that one thing that's going to unlock a lot of growth for you. We both have and currently are in many ways experiencing uppercuts after uppercuts. I think the most important thing for me to say is that we always emphasize a performance enhancing environment, putting yourself around the right people, around the right locations to make sure you're getting as much output as possible towards winning your rodeo, right? But the matter of the
Yeah,
fact is, life is sometimes going to hit you from the side harder than you ever thought it could, and you got to be prepared for that. You got to be ready for when that happens, because when things are going very well, you got to be ready for when things are not going as well, because bad times will come. But your ability to thrive in those headwinds and go against the storm and keep doing what you know you have to do to conquer and win your rodeo is what's going to set you apart from everyone else in 2025, in 2026, and 10, 20, 30 years ahead. It's the same cycle of how life has seasons, ups and downs. And if you're able to keep that baseline high and perform on a level playing field throughout those periods, you're going to outperform and you're going to be a lot more um, contempt about how you're going about your
yeah,
rodeo. As we say, bro, your rodeo is about finding it, conquering it, and winning it, right? And it's one of the major parts of actually conquering and winning your rodeo is being able to do it in good times and in bad times. So yeah, we're gonna obviously go into creating a game plan and give people some actionable things they can do after having listened to today's episode on how they can make sure that their baseline is high. Because myself and Mikkel has gone through periods where our baseline wasn't high and we had to redefine ourselves and build a new version of ourselves and create a game plan and an action plan to make sure
yeah,
that that doesn't that's not allowed to happen. If something bad happens, we know that, all right, this is where we want to be, this is where we're going to be tested. How important is our vision, is our rodeo to us? How much can we fight against it? And I always like that quote, brother, that you have told me about. We hope for the best, but we always prepare for the worst, right? What's like some tools
yeah,
that we can start getting into for people about how they can prepare for the worst when it eventually
yeah.
comes? Some people might be in it, some people might not be in it right now, but it'll be as relevant for both groups, I think.
Definitely, and a very good question, because it's super relevant. And sometimes in life you have goals where, okay, I want to achieve X, Y, and Z goal, but then something comes in from the side, and now you have to deal with it. It's going to be your reality right now. Let's say that you are planning to move to a new country, and someone from, yeah, your family gets very sick, like dangerously sick, and now what? You can't just do what you were supposed to do, move to the new country, carry on with the business, do the exact same thing. You have to take care of the situation and respond to it. And I think today we're also going to talk more about exactly how to deal with these unexpected, um, yeah, things in life that happens, both good, but today, most importantly, very bad things that is going to happen, because it is going to happen. So I think the best thing you can do is, of course, prepare for the absolute worst. Because when you do that, you are preparing for the worst outcome, but it can only get better. And if, let's say, you prepare for a situation that is super low, like very, very bad, but the news is actually all right, it's not that bad. Now you're just moving a little bit up the ladder, which means that you just got more ahead of your plan, which means that everyone is happy. And
Yes.
I think it's also about setting expectations about, okay, how is this going? Because we have to face the truth. We can't sugarcoat our entire life and say, oh, that I hope that it's going to work, and I hope that everything will work incredibly fine. You need to have that mindset, but
Yeah.
you have to prepare for the worst. Because if you're not prepared, what's going to happen if you haven't prepared? So I think the most important thing you can do, if you want to literally have success, even though everything seems like a complete failure, you need a game plan. Create a game plan, not only for your business, not only for your job, not only for your relationship, for everything in life. Um, because and Max, I know that you also agree, when something bad happens, you need to know what to do. You just can't sit there, and you need people around you that are men or women of actions in that situation.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
when shit is burning, you need to be able to have people around you that can take action and just grab like the burning like thing that just and the burning problem. You need to be able to have people that can just throw it away and just move forward. And I think having a game plan is the most important thing you can have.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And as you're saying, I completely agree. That game plan for me is built on some different um, concepts and some different ways that you can build that mindset, because you can build a game plan, but then when shit hits the fan, and stuff really goes south and goes badly, that game plan might not even matter if you're not the person that's able to know how you need to act at that point. And that, as you said, brother, is all about mindset. I think a few things that we always, always, always did when we lived together as well, and things weren't perfect in that situation, were that we always, always, we never were victims. None of us had a victim mentality, even when bad stuff
No.
happened, and business wise, personal wise, in that period as well. None of us blamed everything else, because that's not gonna make us better. Blaming the weather or blaming someone else for my outcome in life is actually a loss of control towards where I'm going to go. No matter what
Yeah.
happened to us, we'd always, always look at how we could change that reality ourselves, right? Oh, it's raining outside. Well, we should have brought an umbrella, Like having that
Definitely.
extreme, extreme level of self accountability to what happens in your life is really important. And sometimes very, very extreme things happen. Maybe it's a divorce in the family, maybe it's illness in the family, who knows what it might be, and you feel like this possibly can't be something I can be self accountable about. And that might be true, but if you keep on applying that mindset on what can I do, how can I be better, you're constantly going to be in that development of knowing exactly how you need to act and how you need to grow through it. Because if you sit down and
Yes.
you say, I couldn't have done anything, I'm so sad, and this is that fault or their fault or something else's fault, and I'm just a victim, well, now you have no control as a victim. So you can't even act on that game plan. So it's very important for me to mention before we get into how you build out this game plan, how you need to see your game plan and how you need to think of your game plan and become a person that knows when stuff goes bad, you say, good, that's the word I use. Other people use different
Yeah.
words, but if my team comes to me with some problem or issue, they know that I'm going to say, "That's good." This is an opportunity for us to test our baseline and to show the world or to show that we push harder when things are not going our way, because that's how we're going to find success. Is being
Yeah.
that person or that team that does that and understanding that you wanted that vision, but do you want it when it's a rainy day, when the sun's not shining? Who's then going to turn up to the gym? Who's then going to keep on
Yeah.
working X number of hours a week? So it's testing your resolve, and it's the best way to do it, because most people nowadays, as we know, when things get hard, they stop and they blame someone else, or they don't take accountability. But that's when they need to remember and remind themselves of who they are as a person, and look at their game plan, and, as you're saying, very importantly, have people around them that keep them accountable. Imagine when we were living together and I'd like something would
Yeah.
happen, and I'd blame someone else. I wouldn't even be able to get to that mindset, because I was around you and you thought the same way. Even if it was really shit, I can't become a victim around you. Of course, it's important
Yeah.
to talk about stuff when really bad things happen, but then we go straight to action, right?
Yeah.
um
And brother, it's not just us. We also see it in movies because we have all seen movies where something bad is going to happen. It's storytelling. There's always something bad going on. But when that bad news is actually going on, let's say that it's a fantasy movie and they know that there's a storm coming, there's monsters coming to wreck you and fuck you up. Now, when they got the bad news, what do they do in the movies? Do they sit down and cry? No, they don't. They come together and they create a plan. They build a castle. They build the weapons. They build all the shield, all the walls around the village. And what feeling do we get when we see that they're building these things? Our skin begin to crawl and we get these goosebumps and we say, okay, this is good. We get this fighter spirit. And it's the exact same thing when you're feeling there's something out of your control coming. There's a storm coming. You know there's some bad news coming your way. The best thing you can do is create a game plan and take massive action. Yes, it's not your fault that someone is sick or someone is dead or something bad is going to happen. But when you take action and say, yes, my family member is sick, but you know what? Let's create a diet plan. Let's have training programs. Let's have a positive mind. Let's optimize everything we possibly can. How do we feel when we do that? We feel amazing. We have this fighter spirit, and I think that is the most important thing. We see it in the movies, and the reason why they put it in the movies is because it's actually based to human psychology.
yes, yeah,
So
it is.
build that plan, take
It is.
action because it will give you one certain word, faith. And I think faith is super important when yeah, you feel like everything is just burning to the ground. What's your take on that, bro? I
I
know you
love
also
what you're
feel the
saying
same way.
there. I love what you're saying there. One thing I can say is that I really, really remind myself of the hero's journey on a daily basis. My favorite superhero, and we're not talking comics, and we're applying this to our own lives. My favorite superhero is Batman, like 100%,
Yeah,
because for 80% of that movie, for any of the Batman movies, his life is shit, and he's taking massive action, and he has a lot of faith. So what happened to Batman? I expect everyone has watched the movie, but if not, it's a really good movie to remind yourself of how you need to approach your life. Is that Batman, very, very young, born into a family that's quite wealthy, everything's nice, it's all sunshine. But then one afternoon, bang, both his parents get shot in the alley, right? They die. He loses both his parents, very, very young kid, right? And instead of becoming a victim of the system, and instead of going out and just getting by in life and doing the minimal effort, he makes that minimal effort maximum effort. He transcends from minimal
Yeah.
to maximum. Everything that's minimal, he makes maximal. He gets this massive vision of wanting to make Gotham free of crime because his parents' death was actually a repercussion of a lot of crime in the city, and he wants to change that. So he becomes Batman, right? And he goes training in the mountains, and he does every single thing he can and keeps faith because he's now got a vision of making Gotham City the absolute best city in the world. No crime, no one
Yeah.
loses their parents to like people getting mugged in the alleyway. And that's such a strong vision, and he has faith in that vision. So he doesn't go out and do nothing. He goes out and trains as hard as he can, and builds and works and keeps reminding himself of why he's doing it because he wants to fix the city. So for 80% of a hero's movie, it's a shit life they have, right? It's a shit life.
It
and
is.
and we don't wish that anyone has a bad life, but it's also important to understand that the bad defines the good. There is no light without dark, and you really got to think of this saying because it's really important. The brightest stars shine the brightest on the darkest night. Like, you don't know what good is if you haven't experienced bad. And that's why when we experience bad, brother, as bad as it might be, we embrace it as something that will help us understand the good times and help us become more capable, help us lift that baseline. And there's no better way of explaining it, that you need to adapt that mentality of knowing that what you're actually going through right now is actually your hero story. It's what's going to build you up. So don't just feel sorry for yourself. Go out there and take massive, massive action. And that's where I think we need to talk about the vision, brother. Because, like, for Batman, he had this big vision of becoming this person. And I know you have visions for yourself and what you want to do for your family and what you want
Yeah.
to achieve personally and professionally. And that's something that you need to remind yourself every single day, regardless of good or bad, but especially bad, right? Because then you know what you need to do. So how can people build a vision? I know it's something that we constantly redefine and we rewrite because it is dynamic, but we keep that close to us, right?
Yes. I think the most important thing from my experience is that you build an image. You need something that reminds you of who you want to become. We can talk about alchemy of self, but I would more say that a vision board, to make it more simple, alchemy of self is basically your personal document where you have written down everything about the life you want to live in 6 to 12 months from now. So if you're just starting out, please don't have supercars and all that fancy stuff because it takes a long time to achieve all these things. But map out, okay, what does my life look like in 12 months from now? Of course, you need to be ambitious with it because it needs to be very big, but also within the reach of 12 months, because people mostly underestimate what they can do. They overestimate what they can do in 12 months and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Just focus on the long term game, but very important to get back to this. The alchemy of self, your personal document, I think that is the most important thing. Just, yeah, on notes or Google Docs or wherever you can get access to it, write down the entire life. Like, who am I? What personality traits do I have? How do I look like? What clothes do I wear? Also, how do I feel? Where do I live? Um, what friends do I have? What do I focus on? How much money do I have? It's also very important if you are a business owner, you want financial success. How much money do you have in your bank account in 12 months from now? Be very, very specific with that number. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. But having an alchemy of self, a personal document, is golden. You may need to rewrite it sometimes when something comes in from the side and breaks everything. You need to build it up again. But having a vision board that you can go to twice a day, every single morning and every single evening, writing, just not writing, but reading, um, how your life, your vision, where you want to go, that is super important. because it is your flagship. You know, you basically, yeah, your flagship to where you want to go, and
Yes.
and I think it's super important for life.
It's so important. I really like what you're saying there, brother, because you can't sail out without knowing where you're going. You know, you're just gonna be on the waters, and eventually you're gonna starve and drown, and that there's not gonna be no more fuel left, right? You gotta know kind
Yeah,
of you gotta have that compass. You gotta have that destination, and that changes, right? Because we are human nature is breaking through that upper ceiling again and again and again. So when you reach those goals, there'll be new goals. But the important
yeah,
thing that I think Mikkel is saying here is that you have that compass, you have that thing, your flagship, the thing that you're aiming for all the time. And that's so important to keep close to you. Personally, I can say, I have both images that I have found online of like lifestyle and family and building a family, all these things that mean something to me, that fires me up, that I can see. I've also written down exactly how does Max Rooney's day look like in 5 years and in 10 years, right? And I've also written down my goals from 6 to 12 months. It's a combination of all these things. But for me personally, my biggest tip when it comes to the alchemy of self is writing down things like, how do you think? How do other people think of you as a person? What can they feel when you walk into a room? How do you consider your non-negotiables, like being honest and being perspicacious and being hardworking? Like, how does this person think in 5 10 years? And then it's very easy to apply, because it's hard to close your eyes and imagine you're sitting in a in a Ferrari or in a 911. What Whatever, these goals are very important, but it's a lot easier to apply today, thinking of how would this person in 10 years act right now. How would he think? How would he attack the boring task? How would he want you to break through your fears and apply more action and more planning when things get hard? That's for me has been my best guidance. Is I know how Max 3.0, 4.0, how he thinks. I know how he wants me to think, and I just act like I'm him every day. I act like I'm him already, because then I will become him, right? And
yeah,
obviously, everything in your environment, you might not have your own house or villa, or you might not have moved to a different country if that's what you want to do, but you can still act like you're him. You can. it's
definitely.
it's your hero's journey. You're not Batman at the top of the building yet, but you're becoming him. And Batman always knew on that journey who he wanted to become. He always knew it. That's why he knew exactly what he needed to do, how much he needed to train, how much he needed to build up his suit of armor. So I always
Yeah,
go back to that. It's so important. So
that's
I
very
think
important.
I think practical ways that you can do this, maybe like we can help people understand, not only so vision is very important. Where is the destination? But from there, you got to understand that the routines and the actions you take during the day align to that vision 100%. So you can look at your calendar and you can look at your vision and who you are in 5 10 years and what is your goals in 12 months, and you can say, does this match or not? Does it get me closer to that, or does it not get me closer? And I know you've done this a lot, bro, with like routines and stuff. How can people in a very simple way apply that to each other with their calendar and their work? Maybe people are in a 9 to 5, maybe they're getting
Mm,
started.
that's very interesting. I think no matter where you are, if you're a nine-figure business owner, or you're just starting out, or you're just working at the gas station down the street, no matter what you want to accomplish, you need to find out, what do we really want to accomplish here? Like, and that is super important. What is the vision? What do we want to achieve? What is the goal for us? Because when you have the goal, you know exactly what to focus on. And I think focus is the most important thing right now. It's not only right now, but forever. Whatever you focus on becomes your reality, because your focus will affect your thoughts, and your thoughts will, of course, have an effect on the emotions you have. If you Because what you think of is exactly what you give a feeling. So if you constantly think of how things are so bad for you, how all these traumatic things are going on in life, you will start becoming depressed. You will become like emotionally touched negatively, which means that when you're in an emotional state that is negatively, you're sad, you're depressed, you don't feel like taking action, and your actions is going to create um, like the pattern, because the pattern is created by the habits which comes from your actions. So it all starts from your focus and your thoughts. And I think no matter what you want to accomplish, you need to think of your goals. Constantly think of your goals, not only financially, but your goal could also be to be the best teacher in the entire school, or the best boy to your mom, or whatever it is. You need to think of the goal and think positively. Have this growth mindset and always think positively, because when you're positive, you also take actions that are more positive, which means that it will give you a positive outcome. So I think, especially, and I think this is also important to touch on, because sometimes life will just give you huge uppercuts where you feel like, okay, holy shit, what am I going to do now? I feel like everything just falls to the ground. I need to find myself. That's fine. Embrace it. It's okay. It's okay that life is shit sometimes. It is okay. But I think the most important thing you can do when shit happens, map out your routines. You need to eat very well and healthy, sleep a lot. You need to train hard, and you need to focus your energy, of course, on solving the problem that is going on, but then all the time focus on the purpose. Like, sit down, literally write down, what is my routine? When do I wake up? How much do I work? What do I focus on when I'm at work? What do I do when I'm not at work? What do I train? When do I train? How do I train? And also, how do I eat? When do I eat? And how much do I need to sleep? When do I need to get to sleep? All these things, you need to write them down and follow them, because you need to build that bulletproof plan, because that is exactly what's going to get you up there. And this is also a funny story. A couple days ago, I'm not going to mention any names. He's super great, doing really well. I love what he's doing. He wrote to me, how could he actually get better at business. He was struggling a little bit with his discipline, and felt like he didn't have any
Mm.
discipline. He just relied on motivation. Um, and the most important thing I said to him is that if I can motivate you to do the work, you're not going to do it. There, you have to have, you need that strong purpose. So why do you want to start that business? Why do you want to do outreach? Why do you need? Why do you want to sit down for 8 hours a day, grind on business, and make money? What is the why behind that? I don't want to hear about money, because it's not the answer. Well, why do you do that? And then he said, because there's something going on in my family.
Mm.
Boom. That was the pain point. We are actually motivated to take action when there's pain. So when life hits you with a huge uppercut, this is a lot of pain. This motivates you to take action, because you really don't want to stay in that situation. And I think, brother, especially you've also mentioned that, but what is your take when, like, everything gets dark? What do you think is the most important thing?
That's a big question, and I love so many things you said there, and I want to unpack so many of them because there's so much gold there. But in my opinion, it's quite simple. You talked about attention. Energy goes where attention flows, right? And I meet people that feel like they're stuck in a rut and everything's dark around them, and they keep on feeding that thought. They're talking about how bad it is and how bad it is and how bad it is, and that doesn't help things in any way, shape, or form at all. When we get together and when we've lived together and we'll live together again for periods of time, we don't have those conversations. We address issues and we talk about how how things are, because we have to face reality. But from there, we go straight into how can we solve this? Like it's just automatic
Yeah.
response, being a problem solver. So my biggest lesson would definitely be don't feed that thought. Don't do it. Obviously, if you need to express and talk about a shock or how things have evolved to be a bit shit, that's really important because you can't limit yourself from being able to take action. If you need to get something off your chest before you can start taking serious action, that's really important to speak with people
Yeah.
about. But from
But of
there,
course, brother,
you don't want to
we,
feed
we,
it.
no, no, definitely not. And I accidentally did that last time. Actually, last night. There is some sickness in my family,
Mm.
some illness as well. So we were talking about what is the worst scenario, which is it's good to
But you're
okay, this is
preparing.
actually what can happen,
You're preparing.
but it also made us a little bit emotional
Of
because
course.
now we're talking about this bad scenario. So of course I'm not perfect. We are not perfect. We can also overthink. We can also get emotional.
Yes.
But I think I said to myself like, okay, this is emotional. Like it is tough right now, but I need to think positively. And then I just started thinking about my goals. What do we want to accomplish and take action? So of course, it's not to say that you'll never get bad thoughts or depressing thoughts. We all will. We cannot control the things that we think about, but how we respond to them, we can also just let them go, or we can focus on them for days or years even. But if you just let them go and say, yes, that was a bad thought, it's not where I want to be. Where do I want to be? Okay, let's focus on this now. Okay, I need to do this. And again, I think having a to-do list every single day, writing down all your tasks you're going to do, helps so much because you can quickly look at, okay, what do I need to do? Cool, we need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to do some outreaches. I need to take care of my mom or whatever it is that you're going through. So it's super important that we're not perfect, but of course it's how we respond and the tools. I think that the tools that we get once we're sliding in and okay, this is a bad thought. What tools, Max, do you use to pull you back up again so you can elevate? I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's somewhere I've been many times. And to be honest, I don't have all the answers. We're still in our rodeos and we need to embrace that. But I definitely have gone through those phases where I have understood exactly what I need to do to pick myself up. And I think it starts with getting really clear. As you're saying, just cut out all the unnecessary and really, really focus and dial in on taking care of yourself so you can take care of others around you, whatever the situation might be. It all starts with making sure that you're operating. And when shit hits the fan, sometimes you got to scale a little bit back. And sometimes you got to really get clear on what needs to happen, right? So you got to know exactly who do you want to become? Who do you want to become? Ask yourself that in the mirror and be really honest with yourself and figure out who do you want to become, right? From there, when bad stuff happens, you now know who you want to become. And therefore, you also know what you don't need to do. To-do list very important, but I also really, really used my biggest tool in some periods was what do I not do? Having bad
Yeah,
habits, having coping mechanisms, it's not going to help the situation here. So the biggest form of self-love towards myself is actually honoring the promises I made to myself in the future. You just can't lie to yourself. You can't do it. You can't do it. Be honest with yourself, even if you're failing and if you're taking the wrong actions and you have bad habits. You know, in my beginning of my start to this journey, I was a massive procrastinator. I was coping a lot because I was using social media and YouTube and escaping from reality because I wasn't able to face my actual reality. It was too hard to face because I wasn't
yeah,
able to be honest with myself. But whatever you do, even if it's shit and you're doing the wrong things, accept it and say to yourself in the mirror, hey, I know I'm doing this and I know it's not what I want to be doing. But if you don't recognize it first, you're never going to be able to change it. You're going to keep on living like in two different realities. So big, 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 big thing. when you're in those periods, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. You're still going to be taking not perfect action. You're still maybe going to have
Yes.
some bad habits, but face them and be kind to yourself. Be very kind to yourself and say, all right, look, I'm doing this and I know it's wrong, but I also understand why I'm doing it. I'm kind of coping. All right, let's recognize that. Then let's see. Let me make a not to do list. Let me limit my screen time to 5 minutes on my iPhone, and then let me remind myself more and more and more. One time in the morning, one time in the afternoon, what I shouldn't do and what I should be doing. Let's look at the
Yeah.
calendar. And when you get off track, as you're saying, this is the important part. When you get off track and you start falling back into bad habits, spend half a day, spend 2 hours, just breathe, get very clear, look at your who do you want to become pages again, and then recalibrate yourself and just say, okay, now we go again, right? And then it becomes like a cycle because you're never ever gonna wake up from now on and 20 years ahead and do 100% success rate actions every single day. We're all human beings and feelings and coping mechanisms get in the way. It's human nature. But really, it's so
Definitely.
important. Remind yourself. To do and not to do list is really important. Evaluate in the morning. Have a check in with yourself. I like to make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and sit with myself in the morning. And it sounds a bit crazy. I don't speak to myself out loud, but I have a check in, right? How has the last few days been going? Have I been doing some bad habits? All right, let's have a look at my alchemy of self that we've told you how to build. Let's just recalibrate. Let me see how I can actually better myself. So you don't just if you're falling in some of those pitfalls, you need to check in with yourself because you can't just keep pushing when you're lying to yourself. So be honest with yourself. That's my
Yeah.
probably number one tip is throughout all of this, be honest with yourself and treat yourself like you're your own best friend. How would I
Yeah.
speak to my brother Mikkel when he's going through something with his life? How would he speak to me? That's how you got to speak to yourself. I'm very kind to him. I'm understanding for him. I'm saying, hey, you got support systems, man. You're my brother, etc. But sometimes I don't speak to myself that way. I have a big hammer, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, we need to remind ourselves of pain to push forward sometimes. But understand that you're in a rut and deal with it in a way where you're not just forcing yourself to feel good. You need to understand why you're feeling how you're feeling so you can eliminate those coping mechanisms and start to take the right action. Check in with yourself, right? So I think that's summing it up for me
Definitely.
is how you need to think. Obviously we push hard and we know exactly we're not victims, but also be honest with yourself because the rodeo is not easy when you have big goals.
No, definitely not. And I love what you said, and especially we're not perfect, and there's always something. If you're not living your full potential, there's always going to be some kind of self sabotage, and I think that's also what I would touch on. So, Max, where do you think this self sabotage comes from?
I mean, I think it's very different. There's different patterns to self sabotage, I think, but I can only speak from my personal experience. And I think it is some sort of escapism. I have these massive goals for myself in life, massive, massive goals. And then when situations hit, when external factors and family hit, um, and I'm not capable to act on the same level, I kind of just decide not to act at all, maybe. You know, now I'm in a very different place and I built up systems and I have these different techniques as we're talking about today. But just putting myself in the position of someone who might be going through stuff or might be having some self sabotaging habits, it's very important to understand why you're actually doing it. Because we all know when we're looking at our, because everyone should know who they want to become, right? And who are they in five, ten
Yes.
years? How do they think? How do they act? We all know who we want to be. And we're all logical enough to think, all right, doing this and watching 1 hour, 2 hour of YouTube a day is not going to get me closer to becoming that person. We all know that, but we still do it. So why do we do it? Why do we do it? Is it because we want to escape reality? Is it because we're simply just completely like uh, enabled to take action for some reason? Why? If you don't, if you just write to yourself, no YouTube, well, it's not going to help you understand why you did it and how you can prevent it. You actually need to dive a little bit deeper with self sabotage and ask yourself, what am I getting out of this? Why do I need to do it? Is it a break thing? Is it stress? Is it just that I want to escape not being able to be that person I promised myself to be? That's how I
Yes,
handle self sabotage. Diving a bit deeper and saying, hey, why are we doing this? What are we getting out from it? All right, this is what we're getting out from it. Why do I actually want that? Okay, it might be because I pushing myself a bit too hard and I'm not able to have the conversation with myself and treat myself nicely on this journey and speak to myself like I'm my own best friend. And I don't want
yeah,
it to sound too soft and lovey-dovey and stuff like that. But it is a little bit a thing about I remind myself, shit, man, I wouldn't speak like this to to my best brother. I wouldn't be this hard on myself to my best brother. You know,
yeah.
I'd come to him in a different way. That's how you got to come to yourself. But don't let it be an excuse not to take action. Only let it be a tool for yourself to know how to take the right action instead.
Definitely. I'm not an expert in this, especially when it comes to self sabotage. I'm actually about to research more about it because I think it's a huge problem in our society in general, where people, if they want to achieve something, the reason why they don't is because there's some kind of self sabotage. And I think it's a very important topic to dive into, not only for us, Max, but I think also for the listeners, to really understand what is the pattern that led to this self sabotage, drugs, alcohol, overeating, whatever it is. So I think it's super important to recognize that pattern. And if you do something, let's say it's not aligned with who you want to become. Let's say you want to have a six pack and you went to overeat. Well, understand, not just because you ate that cake. It's not coming from that, but you need to go all the way back. What led to this thought? Why did I begin to think about this cake in the first place? And what made me go into the kitchen, open the bag with cakes and eat it, or cookies, or whatever it is? Um, but you need to understand the pattern that led to this outcome.
How did the cookies even end up in the kitchen? You know, they're not
Yes,
supposed to be
absolutely,
there. So there is some
absolutely.
element. And sometimes it's an easy thing, like, oh, I just have cravings. I'm a human. I want like glucose, sugar, and stuff. But sometimes you have to go a lot deeper. Like, is there some patterns that you keep on falling back into of distraction or escapism? And why do you do that? And how can you now understand why you do it? Because if you don't understand truly why you do it, you can't make action and steps towards not doing it and starting to have a higher success rate and spend 98% of your day being effective towards your mission instead of 85%, you know? Um, so have those check-ins with yourself and have them with people around you that has similar visions. Like myself and my brother, my co-host here, we have we have different visions, but we have very similar values and morals, and we want to go roughly in the similar direction. We're down the same path.
Yeah,
That's why we can check in with each other on a very deep level about our different headwinds and our different uppercuts, Mike Tyson uppercuts. So you can't have these conversations with people close to you if they don't have the same values and morals and don't want to go the same direction, because they won't be tackling it the same way. They'll be telling you that's fine, you know, and you need to watch some YouTube and you need to eat some cake. But if you really want to be exceptional in some area of life, you need to be around people that has the same mentality, and they will help you check in with yourself. You can check in alone, but it also is important to have people around you that has the similar vision. And
yes,
it's not just about you are the product of the five people around you. It's also about actually having someone that you can relate to and speak to and mirror yourself in.
definitely, definitely. I think we're definitely the product of the five most
Definitely.
influential factors in our life. So it doesn't only have to be the friends that we're physically with, but the the influential factors that we spend the most time and energy on. So if we're watching YouTube all day, and let's say we watch whatever it is, like some guru, all these, if we keep listening to five of these gurus that are living or dream life, we will automatically think that way as well. But if we constantly watch Netflix or the news, even, like we will go down that drain and have negative thoughts and start thinking, okay, it's okay to be obese, it's okay not to have a purpose, it's okay to be completely lost in life, it's okay to, yeah, basically do drugs and alcohol in like crazy amounts. But it's all about what
Crazy.
who you let to be your influential part. And I think
True.
we could go on forever
We really
with
could.
this,
We
but I
really
think,
could.
yeah, we could. And I think the most important thing is to sum up, like when everything is hell, when everything feels like it's falling to the ground, what you need is truly to protect your focus and your energy, because you only have so much energy to give out to people. And if you have wasted everything, all of your energy, you don't have more to give. So
Yes.
protect it at all cost. Your energy is the most important thing. The energy is exactly your inputs, how much action you can take. And if you save all your inputs into the right, not inputs, but if you save all the energy into the right things, you will get to the right place. And the
Mm,
right place will get you to the right goals. So definitely focus is super important. What you think of is like it's super
that's so
overrated. I
important.
used to think that these thoughts, it's not that it's not that important. But it is. It's everything. What you think of right now is super important because it will influence your mind whether you like it or not. So if
Yes.
you constantly think about, let's say you have had a very busy day and you came home, you've been doing incredibly good. All your actions were taken. And now you think, oh, I didn't even do this kind of self sabotage. Now you're just thinking about the self sabotage. And now you're in your subconscious mind going down that drain, even though you don't like it. So just think of where you want to be. Just think of your goals. Think of the person you want to become. Never go back and say, oh, I didn't even think about this. I didn't even do this. No, forget it. Just keep going. Keep focusing on the right things. Keep like having this side like of, yeah, going forward. I think that is super important,
Yeah.
especially because, and this is also one of my favorite sayings, and it's super relevant to me right now because sometimes life will feel like hell, but then you just need to go through hell like you fucking own that place. And that is so important. Like everything will feel like hell, but take that action. Like own your pain, own your actions, own the traumatic things going on. Like take action. Just yes, it hurts. Come get me. I'm here. I'm not scared of anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to take massive action, do everything that I can. I'm not going to be here in 200 years from now. So why worry about that? I have my life.
You have one life, you know, and I love what you're saying there. I think, you know, the way that we see ourselves, I think this is what the thought I want to end on is that we now see our definition of success and us winning the rodeo. We see it as our ethical obligation. We see it as this is what we have to do. Like this is as important to us as like ethically. I don't believe in like massive inhumane actions, like whatever it might be, genocide, it might be like whatever terrible thing. Think of like a terrible thing, inhumane action that gets taken, right? Whatever. But that same terrible feeling, like, oh, why would you ever do that to children or slaves or whatever? You get that, oh, that's terrible feeling. That's the same way that we feel about taking actions we're not supposed to take towards our mission. It's ethically incorrect. We're acting unethically towards our obligation in life, towards our duty. So every time like we do shit that we don't want to do, it should be like, oh, why am I doing that? Like it's not where I want to go. So as my brother says, Mikkel, find that compass, understand your compass, know where you want to go, right? And then you need to know yourself well enough to know if it's time to check in with yourself and speak to yourself like you're your best friend. If you're self sabotaging, you need to check in with yourself and why you're doing it. But if not, you just keep pushing and you go through hell
Yeah.
like you own that shit, right? And you will know yourself well enough by going through your rodeo how you need to treat yourself, how you need to work with yourself. It's more than just mindset. It's actually winning over yourself. It's conquering your own mind, which should be like, it should be the most exciting thing for you to do. Is to win your own mind and be in control, because self-sabotage is not you doing it. It's not that it's not that person in that compass that's doing it. It's someone else that you need to understand and work with and win over. So the rodeo goes deep, it goes inside. And yeah, man, I think
Yes,
this has
sir.
been a great episode. I don't know if you
It
have
has.
any final thoughts, but I think we won't keep it too long today. This has definitely been one of my
Definitely.
favorite episodes, and it's been amazing. I can talk about the next guest as well if you don't have any other thoughts. But apart from that, I think yeah.
Please do a little yeah, a little spoiler for the next episode.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so the next episode, guys, is going to be very, very special. We're going to bring someone on, which has a massive understanding of the content game. Myself and my brother at the moment both work in marketing. We work in scaling people on social media, on lead generation, and sometimes like this episode we go a bit deeper. But next episode is going to be a lot about how you build your personal brand, not just from a perspective of actually gaining financial success and helping out customers and building a business, but also from the standpoint of breaking through that bubble and telling the world who you want to become. And we both have very, very, very impactful stories about how we told the world and posted our first reels about who we wanted to become. But this person, he's got multiple videos with more than 1 million views on Instagram. He's killing it with his content game. So next episode is going to be all about how you can level up um, your organic presence, how you can build something that's in alignment with you, and how you can get closer to becoming that person by understanding how you can tell the world who you want to be. Because when you tell the world who you want to be, opportunities come back to you if you're brave to do it. So we're going to
Yeah,
learn about how to make the brave choice, how to succeed on social media. Either if you want to have an online presence or you're going to help someone build one, it's going to be a very valuable episode. So I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah,
same. It's gonna be huge. I'm very, very excited, and I think the listeners should be as well. But let's keep it short. I hope you enjoyed this, yeah, episode. Very important one, very important topic. When everything feels like hell, what should you actually do? And I think we've given our best take. We're not experts. This is purely based on what we have experienced so far.
and leave
So
your feedback. Like, drop a review if you're on
yes,
Spotify, drop a comment if you're on YouTube. We really do appreciate it. You guys are a very important part of why we do this. But we want to know what you're thinking and
definitely.
and how you're feeling. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram as well. Mikkel Winslow, Max Rooney. So yeah, man.
Absolutely. And if you want to find the podcast, we have of course four other absolutely banger episodes. We're called the Rodeo Talk. And yeah, if you want to learn more about that, go to the description or yeah, click on the links here if you're watching on YouTube or listening on yeah Spotify. We'd love to see more of you. So yeah, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.
So yeah.